and dear invitees. First of all, sincere gratitude to the organizers for having given me this opportunity to speak a few words. The purpose is to find out the truth going beyond half-truth or untruth. There is another dimension of truth which I would like to call post-truth, which is bereft of information and objectivity. My purpose here is not to go into the conceptual vagaries, but to look into certain issues which I believe the context under which this notion of NRC has come into the platform. Now there is a kind of divergence, incompatibility between ethic and emic perspective. Ethic perspective generally castigate the process of NRC in Assam as xenophobic, communal, a kind of nativist assertion of ethnic communities in Assam, a kind of Hindutva agenda. So this is a kind of general understanding of the ethic perspective. And the emic perspective, which is within, tries to legitimize the NRC as a legal framework for protecting the genuine identity interest of the Assamese people or the tribal people or the original inhabitants, whatever the name you would like to call it. So purpose of my small presentation is to find out little bit of, a middle ground, or whereby it's important that we talk about human rights violation of minority people. But my argument is this, that we need to find a common platform whereby human rights cannot be seen in isolation. If we look at the discourse of human rights, in which I have little bit of understanding, you'd look at it to appreciate. When UDHR came out in 1948, it was criticized as too much universalistic. And that's how the relativist notion of human rights has come. Then again, there was a debate between Occidental approach and Oriental approach to human rights. I do not want to go into the details. At the same time, a whole bunch of first generation, second generation, third generation human rights have come out and focusing on variety of issues. Civic rights, individual rights, political rights, community rights, group rights, women rights, environmental, so on and so forth, including minority rights. Now, these rights cannot be seen in isolation. You cannot decontextualize the notion of human rights. It has to be seen in holistically. When we talk about the indigeneity or the original rights of the indigenous people, of course, we also need to talk about the minority rights. But the question is that we must remember the Indian Constitution has adopted a principle called policy or doctrine of distinctiveness. How do we recognize this doctrine of distinctiveness? Well, I would like to put forward here the proposition of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. When we talk about the repeal of Article 370, it's considered to be an attempt of communalization, or BJP's repeal of 370 is a kind of effort to, it's a communal agenda. So we have recognized certain distinctiveness of Jammu and Kashmir very rightfully, very logically. And my argument is that we have more compelling reasons to argue that Northeast has got more distinctiveness in terms of historical development. When the Ahoms ruled in Assam, they had a vibrant working relationship or a kind of cooperation along with contestation with the tribal. In fact, there was various mechanism of cooperation between the tribal and the non-tribal and the hill tribe people. But after the coming of the colonialism, what colonialism has followed is a policy of isolation for the tribal. Various laws have been enacted, like, Exclusive Areas Act, Partially Exclusive Areas Act. The tribals have been isolated by policies like inner line permit, by outer line permit, and range of paraphernalia, how the tribals have been kept exclusive from the interaction with the other people. In fact, this has become a debate in the Constituent Assembly. In Constituent Assembly, there were three schools of thought. One is assimilationist, who wanted to assimilate the tribal people with the rest of Indian people. The second group was anthropological, which wanted to keep the distinctiveness of the tribal and the original inhabitants of Northeastern. The third approach is adopted by Nehru. In fact, it's Nehru's approach which has become popular. For example, that's why Nehru recognized the distinctive character at the same time mixing up with the other people. Nehru developed Panchashil principle in regard to the tribals. For example, it's there, I do not want to illustrate those 5 principles relating to the tribal. And he basically argued, I just like to say one argument. He said, and I quote, the tribal peoples should develop along with the lines of their own genius, and we should avoid imposing anything on them. We should try to encourage in every sense their own traditional art and culture to flourish. Having said, so a kind of Nehruvian mixed method was applied. That is, recognizing the distinctiveness at the same time assimilating with other people. But in contrast to that distinctiveness, in the colonial phase, there was a lot of effort by at that point of time, Muslim League was, along with Congress, there was a kind of intermittent ruling by Muslim League in Assam also. At that point of time, because of various factors, there was the immigrants coming to Assam, and there was an attempt to include Assam as a part of Muslim League. If you look at the Lahore Congress resolution of 1940, you would find that there was a proposal to include Assam with then Pakistan. This demand of including Assam became very much rampant from 1944 to 1946. In fact, in Shillong, there's a resolution to include Assam as a part of East Pakistan. That's how the Assamese people have become extremely apprehensive about the future of Assam. Then came the grouping. In the midst of this kind of exercise by the Muslim League to include Assam as a part of Pakistan, then grouping cabinet mission tried to include Assam in the Group C, that is with Bengal. That was the Muslim-dominated Group C. Thanks to the initiative of Gopinath Bardole and Mahatma Gandhi, it is Mahatma Gandhi who said that a non-Muslim state like Assam cannot be clubbed in the Group C. And that's how it is at the initiative of Mahatma Gandhi that Assam became a part of India and it didn't become a part of East Pakistan. That was the history. But during that point of time, I would like to mainly focus on from the period of 47 to 1951, there was huge influx of foreigners from East Pakistan. And I have statistics to prove there are 5 lakh people came from 1947 to 1950. And that is how at that point of time, NRC came into being in 1951. There was Illegal Immigration Expulsion Act of 1950, and there was another act called Permit Trust System in Assam. So that was the attempt to control immigration to Assam. Now, why the numbers become important today? I think we have a lot of other panelists who talk about the numbers. If you look at Assam today, for a marginalized group of the tribal and the original inhabitants, we have adopted a system called parliamentary democracy, where numbers are important. First to the post system we have adopted. But when the indigenous original groups are marginalized, and when it becomes a kind of immigration-driven society, there becomes the problem. Problem becomes when the society becomes immigrant-driven. So that's how the people have become apprehensive. And it is wrong to say, well, ASU definitely has taken a lot of initiative. But after 1951, I'm afraid it is not ASU who has taken the initiative of NRC. I have documents to prove it is Congress. What is ASU today? Congress was from 1927 till 1967 to 69. It is Congress in 1964 who demanded NRC to be promulgated. In fact, it is Congress who said that 1965 should be the cutoff date for the expulsion of foreigners. So it is Congress that had driven home the concept of NRC in 1964. How they did it, I have documentary proof to substantiate it. So it is in 1980 that it is at the initiative of ASU, and a lot of other organizations have come up with the concept of NRC. Now the question is that even NRC is not considered to be foolproof. Why? Because the general rate of exclusion of NRC is about 12.15% in Assam. But in certain districts bordering Bangladesh, for example, Dhubri, Upamanya Hazarika can tell us it better, those bordering districts, like Dhubri, Goalpara, the rate of exclusion is below the state average. But there's a huge population explosion in Dhubri in the 7 districts, Goalpara, Bongaigaon, then the Nagaon. I do not want to go into the details. So the question is, even the NRC exclusion is not considered to be very much authentic, which I believe Mr. Hazarika would talk about. Now, coming from this kind of contention to find a kind of amicable solution, what do we do with the stateless people? I believe Assam has adopted an accommodative approach of citizenship, because in case of India, it's 1948, but in case of Assam, it is 1971, 25th March. And even later on, we have series of Citizenship Amendment Acts, how we have accommodated a lot of foreigners. But the question is, can we accommodate people even at the cost of the own national original inhabitants, which the debate came in Constituent Assembly? So my point is that what Assam needs today, perhaps we need to find a mechanism to accommodate those migrants by means of settlement visa, by means of some kind of, maybe denizen, or what kind of conceptual category you talk about. There could be settlement visa, there could be accommodation the way we have it in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we have the concept of Bhumiputra, whereby the Malays have certain preponderance in political aspect, the Chinese and Indian have certain, they do not enjoy certain political rights. I do not know what could be the mechanism, but while accommodating those migrants, the most important issue is the constitutional protection of the Assamese people. Because we have a parliamentary democracy, the tribals do not have a very high rate of population growth. Having said, doesn't mean that they can be submerged by by the bunch of immigrants. So therefore, when we talk about the situation in NRC, it has a historical context. It's a situation when the original inhabitants are to be outnumbered by the immigrants. And I plead for a kind of settlement by giving constitutional protection. Land settlement particularly must go to the indigenous people. So these issues cannot be brushed aside as a kind of non-issues. If we say these are non-issues and we try to brush it aside in the name of human rights, I'm afraid the real politics would take them behind to a different angle. That is why I say, let us address this issue and looking into the threadbare, then try to find a solution. That is the crux of my argument. Thank you.